So you sent us some really fascinating stuff about how, like, everything you do kind of sets something else in motion, especially how Buddhist philosophy views this whole cause and effect thing. It's like there's this invisible current
Yeah.
shaping things, even your finances, right?
Yeah.
We're diving deep into that today.
Love that invisible current idea. It's spot on. See, what's so cool about karma, at least how your sources present it, is that it's not just some mystical out there concept. It's like this universal law, cause and effect, but playing out in like every part of life. And here's the kicker, might be a bit uncomfortable to think about. What if those money problems you're dealing with are tied to stuff you're doing without even realizing it? Actions, intentions, that whole bit.
Exactly. Imagine you're by a river, right?
Yeah.
Surface looks all calm, peaceful,
Yeah.
but underneath, there's this strong current constantly moving, shaping the riverbed without you even seeing it. Life's kind of like that, isn't it? Things happen, and we're left wondering, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Your sources are pointing to karma as a big part of that hidden force. Just like the current shapes the river, our habits, the stuff we do without thinking, even our deepest desires, they're all shaping our financial reality, often in ways we totally miss.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And what's wild is we're interacting with this current constantly with every single choice we make. Your sources use this analogy of like throwing stones into the river with every decision. Each one, no matter how small, creates these ripples, these consequences. So today we're figuring out how those ripples work, especially when it comes to your money, your well-being, that whole picture.
So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to pull out the juiciest bits from this material, all about Buddhist philosophy and this principle of karma. We're going to laser focus on how this stuff might be playing out in your financial life and how getting more mindful, more aware, could actually lead to some really awesome changes. So ready to unpack all of this? Let's start with this idea of the invisible current. Why you might be losing money without even knowing why.
All right, so as the text lays it out, karma isn't just for like monks on mountaintops. It's this universal law, cause and effect. And yeah, it touches our finances too. It's easy to think, oh, good luck, bad luck, the market's crazy. But the perspective here is that your financial situation is a reflection of, stuff you've done, choices made, seeds planted over time, as your source puts it. Like, all your actions matter, even the ones you barely register. They're all these little seeds.
It's not always the obvious actions either, right? That story about the generous merchant that really highlights this. Here's a guy doing good deeds, donating the whole 9 yards, but his business is tanking. And then boom, the monk asks him about his intention, and that's where things get interesting. The problem wasn't the giving itself, but the motive behind it. Ego, wanting praise, not genuine compassion. That's a real mind shift. Intention matters more than what you see on the surface. It makes you really think about why you do things, doesn't it?
It's amazing how this ancient wisdom totally lines up with modern psychology. We now understand how much our subconscious beliefs, those deep-rooted habits, really influence things. The text even talks about how if you're stuck in scarcity, fear, or always wanting more, it creates these negative vibes that mess with your decisions and your financial outcomes. Think of those beliefs like karmic seeds already planted, influencing what you harvest financially. Basically, negative thoughts and feelings, they breed negative actions, which just reinforces those same feelings, and then bam, unwanted financial results. It's a vicious cycle.
Oh, for sure. You could be busting your butt making what you think are smart money moves, but if deep down there's this fear, this belief that you're not meant to be abundant, well, you could be sabotaging yourself without even realizing it. It makes you rethink those everyday purchases too.
Yeah.
Are you buying stuff that actually matters to you, that makes your life better? Or are you giving in to impulses, maybe trying to keep up with the Joneses or whatever? Thinking about your own experiences, do any of these ideas resonate with you? How has this played out with your money?
You hit the nail on the head. The text really emphasizes that those small daily choices, they're not just one-offs. They build up over time, painting a picture of our inner world. And that picture shows up in our finances. Every purchase, investment, every time you swipe that card, it's like you're sending out a signal. What kind of signal are you sending? Not just with your actions, but with the intentions behind them.
Okay, but it's not like everything's set in stone, right? The really cool thing here is we have the power to change the direction of the river, so to speak. Your sources are clear about that.
Yeah.
By getting more aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it, by really examining our intentions and actively being grateful for what we've got, we can shift things in a more positive direction. We're not just passengers, we're at the wheel.
Absolutely. It all comes back to that core message. Karma responds to the energy we put out into the world. It's not about some judgmental force keeping score. It's just cause and effect in action, pure and simple. Understanding this invisible current and learning how to work with it through mindful action, clear intention, that's presented as the key. Not just to stop losing money, but to actually cultivate abundance and well-being. It's a whole different ballgame.
So the big question as we wrap up part 1 is this. When it comes to your finances, are you the captain of your ship, or are you just letting the current carry you wherever it wants? Okay, let's move on to part 2, which dives into this whole mindlessness thing and how it might be costing you way more than you think.
So this part gets into what the text calls the debris clogging the river of karma. And that debris is mindlessness. You know, living on autopilot, just reacting without really thinking or having a clear intention behind your actions. It's like chucking those stones into the river without a care in the world, and that can have some serious consequences, especially for your finances.
And the principle they keep coming back to is so simple, yet so powerful. Every action must be rooted in mindfulness and intention. Without those two things, the text argues, our actions become all over the place, disconnected from our deeper goals, especially when it comes to what we want financially.
Let's dig into that, starting with this Buddhist perspective from your sources. They talk about karma being like a mirror, reflecting the state of your mind. And they use this amazing analogy of the mind as a garden. Our thoughts, our words, what we do, they're all like seeds that we're planting. Mindful of negativity, fear, or just wanting more. Well, it's going to grow more of the same, right? But a mind nurtured with clarity, compassion, and focused intention, that's where the good stuff starts to sprout.
Yeah, and that story of Maya, the corporate lady, it brings all this down to earth. She's successful on paper, big job, the whole shebang. But she's constantly stressing about money, worried about not having enough. And it's not until she goes on this meditation retreat that she realizes her whole drive for wealth is coming from fear. That feeling of chasing something out of fear, I think we've all been there at some point, whether it's about money or something else.
What's pivotal for Maya is what her teacher tells her. Fear-based actions create fear-based results. So simple, but so profound. And then she starts practicing mindfulness with her finances. Before she does anything, she stops, she checks in with herself, what's my motivation here? And that's what leads to a real lasting change. It wasn't just about changing what she did with her money, but changing her whole mindset, her inner landscape. That's where the real magic happens.
And then, the text makes this awesome connection to modern psychology. Neuroscience has shown us that our brains are wired for habit formation, right? We develop these automatic ways of doing things, and that's great for some stuff. But when it comes to big decisions, like with our finances, well, that can lead to impulse purchases, bad investments, you name it. Those automatic responses don't always serve us well.
Totally agree. Those little mindless actions, they might seem insignificant in the moment, but they can cause these huge ripples down the line, messing up our karmic flow, so to speak. But here's the good news. Our brains can also rewire themselves, and mindfulness plays a huge role in that. Research has even shown that a little bit of meditation can boost activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is like the CEO of your brain, responsible for making good decisions, self-control, that whole thing. So strengthening that part of your brain can help you take charge of those impulsive financial behaviors.
The story of Alex, the freelance designer, is a perfect example of the power of intention in action. Talented guy, but struggling to land those good clients. Then he goes to this workshop about mindfulness in business, and one of the exercises was writing a letter to his ideal client. He had to get specific about what he offered, what he wanted the outcome to be. It's about getting crystal clear on your vision.
And what's so important about Alex's experience is the shift in his energy. By consciously setting his intention, by picturing his ideal clients and the value he could offer, he started sending out a different signal, one that attracted clients who were a better match for him. He wasn't just waiting around hoping for things to get better. He was actively shaping his reality through intention. And boom, it worked. Alex's story shows us that consciously directing your intention, which is a huge part of working with karma, can bring real, tangible results.
Part 2 gives us some super practical steps to break out of that mindlessness cycle. First up, pause before you act, especially with money stuff. Ask yourself some key questions. Why am I doing this? Does this line up with my values? What might happen down the line because of this choice? That pause is so important. It gives you that space to make a conscious choice rather than just reacting.
It's all about that mindful pause. And then, step 2, which sounds simple but is incredibly powerful, is cultivating gratitude every single day. Buddhist philosophy and modern psychology both agree. Gratitude is a game changer. When you focus on what you're thankful for instead of what you lack, it shifts your whole energy, your entire outlook. Even just writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day can make a huge difference.
And step 3 is practicing generosity. but without getting hung up on the outcome. True giving, they say, comes from a place of open-heartedness, not obligation or expecting something in return. It's about creating positive energy that might circle back to you in unexpected ways. The text makes this important distinction between genuine generosity and giving from a place of scarcity or wanting recognition. It's a subtle but important difference.
Right. It's about the motivation behind the action. And when we consistently live mindfully, with intention, the text suggests that this positive ripple effect starts touching every area of our lives. We see opportunities we might have missed before, relationships get stronger, conflicts become easier to handle, and even challenges become chances to learn and grow. It's about going with the flow of karma, working with it instead of fighting against it.
So as we finish part 2, here's what I want you to think about. Are your actions, maybe driven by that mindlessness we talked about, planting seeds of fear and chaos, or are you intentionally cultivating a garden of abundance and harmony through mindful choices? And remember, it's never too late to change course, to plant different seeds, to make different choices. Okay, let's dive into part 3, all about that turning point, how we transform those experiences of loss into something truly abundant.
This last section brings everything together, highlighting that our financial struggles often aren't just bad luck. They're a reflection of what's going on inside, our beliefs, intentions, our habits. So to unlock true abundance, we've got to understand and change that inner landscape. It's an inside job.
And that change often starts with what the text calls the awakening, seeing beyond the surface. It brings in this Buddhist teaching. The cause of suffering is ignorance. When it comes to money, that ignorance can mean not understanding how karma really works, leading us to do things that just keep the cycle of financial difficulty going.
Good
Use
stuff.
this great analogy of trying to navigate a dark forest without a light. You're bound to bump into some trees, right?
Hey! The text then throws out some deep, maybe even uncomfortable questions for you to consider. What are your core beliefs about money? What do you associate with wealth, or the lack of it? What's really driving your financial decisions? Honestly, facing these questions, they say, it's like pulling weeds in that garden of your mind, clearing space for healthier things to grow.
And that leads us to the karmic equation, action plus intention, outcome. It breaks down how both what we do, A and D, the intention behind it, they both matter in creating the results we see. If one of those is missing, things can go sideways. The text highlights the sweet spot where your actions and your intentions are totally aligned, giving examples like starting a business that genuinely helps people or investing in yourself so you can contribute more meaningfully. It's about finding that synergy, that alignment between what you do and why you do it.
Right. It's about walking the walk and talking the talk, so to speak. And they bring back Maya's story, but this time they focus on her decision to start volunteering her skills. She's not doing it for money, but out of genuine care. And guess what? It leads to more professional recognition and a boost in her income. It's a real-life example of how doing things with positive, service-oriented intentions can create this amazing upward spiral. What you put out comes back to you.
And then the text tackles this often overlooked, hidden cost of neglecting karma. It's saying the consequences go way beyond just our bank accounts. Our peace of mind, our relationships, even our sense of self-worth, they all take a hit when we're not aligned with these principles. They give those stark examples, like the dishonest businessman who loses everyone's trust and the person trapped in overspending, never feeling satisfied.
The message is clear. What you resist persists. If we try to fight against the natural flow of karma, doing things that lack integrity, mindfulness, or purpose, well, we just create more struggle for ourselves. But when we choose to live by these principles, act with integrity, be present, and live with purpose, it's like we're riding the current instead of constantly paddling upstream. It's a smoother ride, and you get to enjoy the scenery along the way.
So, part 3 lays out this awesome 5-step framework for making change happen. Step 1 is the audit of your actions. Take a good, honest look at your money habits, how you earn, spend, save, invest. Then ask yourself, are these habits in line with my long-term vision, my values? Would I advise someone I care about to do the same things? That kind of self-reflection can be a real eye-opener.
Absolutely. Step 2 is clarify your intentions before making big decisions, especially about money. Really ask yourself, what's the motivation here? Am I acting from love, curiosity, a desire to help? Or is it fear, envy, needing validation? The text makes a great point. Your intentions are the foundation of your outcomes. A shaky foundation means things are bound to crumble sooner or later.
Then step 3 is cultivate awareness through rituals, building in little mindful practices throughout your day. Maybe it's pausing before you buy something, taking a minute at the end of the day to reflect on the good you did, or keeping a journal to track your money goals. These small rituals can bring awareness to areas that might usually run on autopilot, helping you become more conscious of your choices.
Exactly. Those little habits can make a big difference. Then step 4 is invest in relationships. It's expanding the idea of wealth beyond just dollars and cents, recognizing the value of healthy relationships built on respect and shared values. Nurturing those relationships, helping others without expecting anything in return, those are presented as high-yield investments in themselves. They enrich your life in a way that money can't buy.
And finally, step 5, the most compassionate one, is embrace imperfection. It's a reminder that change is a journey, not a destination, and we're going to make mistakes along the way. That's okay. It's about focusing on progress, not perfection.
It's about being kind to yourself. And the text offers this beautiful promise. As you work with this framework, you'll start noticing positive shifts, not just financially, but across the board. New opportunities pop up, challenges feel less daunting, and you develop a deeper trust in the flow of life. It all comes back to learning to ride that karmic current, working with it, not against it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's the takeaway. Karma isn't some fixed destiny. It's about freedom. The freedom to choose our actions, our intentions, to write our own stories moment by moment.
Couldn't agree more. When you make wise, thoughtful, loving choices, it's not just about improving your finances, you're unlocking your potential, discovering abundance that goes way beyond money. It's a richer, more fulfilling way to live.
And on that note, here's a final thought to ponder. If karma is truly about freedom, the freedom to choose, how does understanding that change your perspective on responsibility, on your power to make positive change in all areas of your life, not just financially? What intentional seed will you plant today? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take these ideas, explore them, see how they resonate in your own life. This is just the beginning of the journey.